Thanks. Wow, that was a great introduction. I didn't write that, so sorry. Obviously, I got a little bit too excited about this conference, so hope you won't hold it against me. Thanks for coming. Yeah, the topic is NFTs and how we leverage them to help onboard users from Web2 to Web3. So, well, you already heard my name. I like to think of myself as a developer trying to do something in the space. As the founder of a project, I obviously need to do a little bit more than just development. I like to think of myself as an Ethereum maximalist. I associate myself mostly with Synthetics, which is a project for stablecoins or any assets that you would like to tokenize and make synthetic on chain. I'm part of Synthetics Spartan Council, which is the governing body for Synthetics, and I'm I'm the founder of Thales and Overtime protocols, which are also kind of part of Synthetics ecosystem. Thales, the Chad, you all know him from school, from math theorems, etc. In context of our protocol Thales, it's about binary options. The protocol is founded in 2021. It's part of Synthetics. Sorry again. I hope it's not too awful. Binary option. It's like the simplest derivative. Like perps, like futures, like vanilla options. Well, binary option, I think it's actually the simplest one to understand. It's a concept made of three things. The asset, which in this example is Bitcoin. The strike date, which in this example is the end of the year, and strike price, which we all hope Bitcoin will surpass by the end of the year. So your binary market is, will Bitcoin be below or above 100K at the end of the year? And what we did at Thales, we built automated market maker for binary options, and we named it after Thales, the ancient Greek Chad, who was the first person who did options back in the days. He was watching the stars. He anticipated olives will have a great yield, so he bought options on olives being, having a good yield, and he became rich of Greek drachmas in the ancient times. This is our UI from the dApp from Thales Market, and I think it actually shows in the simplest way what we are about. So you choose your asset, which in this case is Ethereum. You choose the date, the 6th of June, and then you have your choice of strike prices. You can choose the direction, whether it's going up or down, bullish or bearish. Or we also have this interesting, it's not really something you can find anywhere else, but you can choose a range option. So will it be in this tight range, and then you get an extra payout if you guess it correctly, or will it be outside that range? And then Overtime is part of Thales protocol. It's what we found when we combine binary options, sports, and DeFi. And we like to think of it as a sports automated market maker. To some, it may resonate better as a decentralized Web3 sportsbook, which is backed by Chainlink oracles. Sportsbooks are a really, I think, good use case of Web3 and smart contracts. Perhaps not locally here. You have not had a chance to be banned from a sports betting venue, but worldwide, a lot of people don't have access to it. In many cases, you don't get the payout you were supposed to get. Anyway, you have a centralized counterparty, and I think it makes a lot of sense to use Web3 to actually decentralize the aspect and to guarantee payouts by smart contracts. And this is taken from the dApp, from our UI. It looks a lot like sports betting. If a regulator asks, it isn't. It's a sports markets AMM. So you're familiar with, you choose your leagues, you choose your games, you choose the outcome you want to speculate on. You can do parlay tickets. So yeah, that was all part of the intro of myself and the protocol. And now to combine it with the topic of the talk, which is the NFTs. So most people associate NFTs with tokenized store of art, that they are non-fungible, that you get digital ownerships. You know the standards, ERC 721, the most known one. Then you have the batching, the 1155, and most recently, it's still in draft, but the proposal for account abstraction, that's very bullish for 337. But what we miss to kind of maybe even elaborate on is that NFTs are actually smart contracts. And as such, they can do everything else smart contracts can do. So they can leverage, the blockchain, the trustlessness. The code here is just, so the standard just tells you the minimum you have to implement to have the standard. It doesn't stop you from adding any other logic or state to your NFTs. So this is what we at Thales kind of gotten to leverage, to do interesting things with NFTs, things that were not done before. Obviously, we as a protocol, we need users. I think we do a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of stuff that even resonates to Web2 users, but we are still having problems with reach, like every other protocol out there. Ethereum is still a niche, like crypto, maybe lots of people have heard about crypto, maybe a lot of people own some Bitcoin or have owned it at the time, NFTs. But when you get to actually using smart contracts, when you actually get to how many people have interacted with smart contracts, have MetaMask installed, have actually used, DeFi, we get to a measly number, and this is what we need to work on and to grow it. To get into Ethereum blockchain, you need to set up a wallet, which means you need to understand what's private keys, what's seed phrase, how to protect those. Everyone's out to get your seed phrases. I think that's a given. You need to understand smart contracts as a concept, how to interact with them. What's a gas? You need to pay for every transaction, and if you're not looking, you can end up paying $1,000 for a transaction when gas spikes. You need to understand tokens, allowances, how to protect yourselves out there. I mean, that's the worst thing about it is everyone's out to get you. Scammers everywhere. And even the big companies such as Google and Discord, they aren't really doing much to protect you. Like, if you Google any project, Uniswap, Yearn Finance, might be localized, but many times I get a scam link as sponsored, the first one. Everyone's out to get you. You have to be careful while understanding all these and 100 more things. Tooling has come along in the last 3 years, but I think it's gonna take much more, and maybe account abstraction is the way to go. But we still have a lot to go to get to like 100x in users count. So we at Thales have asked ourselves, can we leverage NFTs as something that most people? It's the least scary thing to get someone to blockchain. So can we leverage that to help and ease this on-ramp? We were noobs at NFTs, so we started simple. Now, what's the first thing you can do? You can mint the collection. You can use OpenSea or any other platform out there, and you can mint the collection. So yeah, we figured out, all right, we can do a collection. Maybe we can give it as rewards to people, just have some competition. And then we needed some art, obviously. If you have the gas money, you know how to do a collection, you need some art. Hopefully one you own, rather than copy. So we needed someone to do the art, actually. I think there are some local people here. I'll show you our first collection, and maybe you can tell me at the end if you recognize the artist. It's very well known locally. So this is the first image he did. Well, I told you it's a he, so that's a giveaway. It's Thales baby trader. You can see Thales, with his pacifiers, with milk. And this went out to anyone who participated in the competition. Next one, a bit more complex, to top 20 traders. You're speculating on binary options, up or down. Now this one is a fancy one. It's only for the top 3. This is Thales. Thales being very, proficient, watching the stars, doing calculations on his ancient notebook. lots of details. Again, you might be recognizing the artist already here. And then the market creator, Thales selling some ETH, some Bitcoin apples over there. You probably know the concept of the flippening, which at least in my understanding is, will it have a higher market cap than Bitcoin? We had binary options on whether that will become true or what the ratio will be exactly. And the artist has, he's not a crypto savvy person. We explained the concept and he understood this as a cockfight between it and Bitcoin. Or a rooster fight if the word, is more PG. And then there's Thales burning some ETH, sitting on his war chest, probably from the last bull market. And finally, this one was not for the competition. We have a game as well. I'll touch more on the game in the next slide. But this went out to everyone who found the Easter eggs we placed in the game. Again, a very fun competition. Sorry, I spoiled the surprise. I hope, I hope you know him, Chad, Bob. He really helped us out, and I'm looking forward to more cooperations with him. A very famous Serbian artist, illustrationist, not sure what the word is. So that was the first thing you do. You mint an NFT, ERC 721, pretty simple. All of you can do that. And then, we were thinking, what else can we do? And we were lucky to actually have community that had people who know how to build games. They raised their hands and said, we want to help. The only thing we know how to do is build games. And we were like, great, we love games. Let's think of something. We came up with this game, which is kind of like a origin tale of Thales as a protocol in ancient Greece with a lot of twists. On the image, you might see Vitalik with his portal, so I encourage you. It's like 15 minutes of trying the game. It's quite fun, educational as well. So the game itself, all the Web3 games are kind of centralized. They all render on AWS servers. Like the Web3 aspect of it is maybe the NFTs, which tokenize the items, the armor sets, and etc. Or maybe some real estate within the game. So yeah, we did the same. We tokenized various armors or items you can earn or get by doing some quests or just being aligned with the protocol. You get these NFTs, you can mint them, and this is the ERC 1155 standard where you can mint multiple items as part of the batch, like a collection within the collection. And following the single game mode, which is just a story, an educational mode, we also released a metaverse version. And it's great fun. Like, it doesn't have much to do with our protocol per se, except for the educational and on-ramp part, but it's great fun. This is, they did a meeting, like Synthetics ambassadors, Synthetics DAO did a meeting within the game where they all flexed their various armor sets. So I think this is a really interesting use case for the NFT 1155 standard at least. And now we are taking it a little bit to the next level. Dynamic NFTs, NFTs which can mutate, which can evolve, which can change their state. We did this fun, again, a game, but not a game like actual game, more like a board game, social game. Squid Games was a huge thing at the time when we came up with this. So we were motivated by it. So binary options, you choose up or down. Will it be more than 100K, whatever the date? Obviously, screenshot from the past. So there are 6 rounds. So you choose up or down. It's sudden death. If you win, you go to the next round. If you lose, you die. And if you make it all the way to the end, like Matt says, it's 64x winnings. So there's a buy-in and everything. And we thought, why don't we represent each player? Thank you. I had like 10 of these, so it was like 99% bust. So why don't we represent each player with an NFT, the NFTs, and this is, I want to show you the code. My idea for the presentation was to have it a little bit technical. You can actually render NFTs on-chain with SVG code. Obviously, you probably don't want to do this on L1 due to gas prices, but you can do it on L2, maybe on L3. So the NFT actually renders, the image comes from the blockchain and it changes as the state changes, which gives you out-of-the-box validation. So this is actually very important for like secondary markets when someone's trying to sell you his ticket, because like in the middle of round 3, maybe you want to sell your position. It's worth something, you know, because you made it to round 3. But then, you know, how does someone validate your position? They just look at the image. You made it to the round 1, 2, 3. This guy actually made it all the way to the end. This one has died. Now, actually, the design we had for this was, you know, out of this world. But because the SVG is now on chain, you actually have to make some cutbacks. So you cannot really do very fancy SVGs on chain yet. You know, maybe one day. I still think it's very interesting, especially for validating the state. So everything so far was mostly about, you know, Thales, binary options, and now a little bit of overtime and how we use NFTs in overtime. Zebro is the overtime's mascot per se, and he's a huge sports fan. And last year we had the biggest, you know, event, the event that happens every 4 years, the FIFA World Cup. And Zebro was very excited about it, and obviously we wanted to do something special for the event. So we were motivated by, you know, this Panini collection everyone does for the World Cup. So Zebro, he loves all teams. He was wearing the jersey and the flag of each team. And we did an NFT collection of all these countries, and the users, we did like incentivized trading competitions. Users would choose their country and they would mint it, and this is where we introduced the concepts of soulbound and like unique NFTs. So you can only mint one, you can only choose your country one. Obviously I chose Serbia, which I regret, but it is what it is. So it's non-transferable. You chose, you stuck with it. And then we leverage this NFT by doing a trading competition where you get bonuses if your country is winning, if you bet on it, and you know, it makes it all the way to the end. Again, jokes on me and Serbia, but it was a very fun competition. This was the view in which you would choose your country. I thought that the screenshot is very nice to share. And this is where you see a little bit of the code of the mint method that actually, I just wanted to depict here how you can add a lot of custom logic to the NFTs. You can see we are storing, you know, who minted what's your favorite team. You can see in the upper checks all the require statements that, you know, we do the soulbound check, that you don't already have an NFT, that you haven't already minted it. Yeah, so I mean, it's ERC 721 standard, but you know, the idea for me was to show how you can use it for much more than just, you know, a collection and an image. And then the next big thing we had was March Madness. Maybe in Serbia it's not that popular, but in the US it's a huge thing, and even worldwide. It's this tournament where you have 64 NCAA college teams that compete in this sudden death format. And what everyone likes to do for March Madness is they like to do their prediction brackets. So you get 32 teams on each side of the bracket, and then you do your predictions all the way to the end. Yeah, and obviously we thought that this is a very good use case for NFTs, that you can actually store your whole prediction bracket on the chain. And again, it's going to be soulbound, but it's mutatable until the tournament starts. You can change the outcomes. So this is how you would choose, you know, who's going to win, Purdue or TAMU, whatever. You choose your whole brackets. In the end, you mint your NFT. You can flex it. It was also a competition, you know, who did best. if you guessed a lot of, no one has gotten a perfect bracket. I don't know if that happens, but if you guess a lot of outcomes, you get bonuses in the trading competition. And this is a little bit of the code, similar to the last one, but what you see here is that the input is like an array of 63, which is, there are 63 games, so 63 outcomes. It all gets stored on chain, and you can, straight from the chain, there's this read method that you can get how many correct predictions they had directly from the chain. And this one now is probably the best use case for on-ramp, and I'm very baffled and surprised that more projects aren't leveraging this. You can actually do NFTs gift cards. If you want to bring your friends, and this is not an advertise, but if you do want to onboard someone to DeFi or specifically to Overtime, you can mint them. You can take some SUSD, the synthetic stable coin on Arbitrum. We use USDC. You take 50 USDC, you can take 10 or 5. You mint them a voucher, you send them to their wallets, and what's actually interesting for you and the incentive for you is that you get the referral fees. If they stick around after they try it, you get all the referral fees. So I think this is a very powerful marketing tool, an on-ramp tool, and I like to stick to the code at least. Sorry, I'll get back to that one. So you can see in the mint method, you provide the recipient, so to whom you are gifting and I mean it's transferable, so you can mint it to yourself and then send it, and the amount of how much dollars you're putting into that NFT, and then you enrich this NFT contract with the use case for the dollar. So the money can only be transferred from the NFT as you specified. It can only be used in your protocol, in your platform. So that's the method, buy from AMM with voucher. I just wanted to show you how it looks in the dApp. So you can mint, you choose the amount, you choose the recipient, and then when you're buying a parlay, for example, you can choose to pay with the voucher. So it's really like Web2, like you go to a store, you get the gift card, you give it to someone else. So the concept is very familiar to you. But I'm very surprised to not have seen more projects use this on the blockchain. So this is the final one, and I thank you very much for bearing with me and my voice. Parlays, in Serbia we call them tickets. We have a lot of combinations, and then they multiply the outcomes. You have to guess all of them correctly, and then you get large payouts, obviously. I think we haven't done this yet because parlays are kind of new for us, but we plan to store parlays as NFTs because it gets us like out of the box secondary market. We can use the dynamic NFT approach to render the SVG, so all of this can actually be rendered on chain, and then when you sell it to someone or you do early cash out, there's like out of the box validation. To wrap it up, yeah, I hope I've shown you some interesting use cases for NFTs that perhaps you can take on to your projects, and that we have seen that NFTs are and can be much more beyond art storage. Other use cases involve around like copyright, patents, and intellectual property, royalties, film music. For gaming, we have already seen how it can be used. You can actually do your whole Web3 identity as an NFT. Like we all have our own Web2 identity, like which is Google. Like for me, Google is, I log in with Google everywhere. Well, that can be an NFT in Web3, and I think it should be, because then you can tie everything around it. And actually, you can tokenize any real-world asset as an NFT and leverage smart contracts to lose this bureaucratical complexity. I read that in California, they actually tokenized real estates with NFTs, and then you do an auction, and you actually get, you buy the NFT representing a house. So I think that showcases how the future can work with NFTs and smart contracts. I thank you for your time and for your patience. I hope it wasn't too tedious and too painful listening to me. And I welcome any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. I'm asking a question at least 50% just to make you talk some more because it's hilarious. So if I'm a Web2 companies are companies, and it's in my interest as a Web2 company to keep users on my platform. So it might be ultimately in like the end user's interest to have these things as like permissionless and liquid outside of a Web2 platform. But one of the challenges I think a lot about is how to incentivize Web2 companies to make their assets available outside of their platforms. Like as a game developer, I mean, there are lots of complexities with like in-game assets. You know, you can't take like a CS:GO skin and make it work in Fortnite. That's like totally non-trivial. But even for simpler assets, like how do you see solving that problem of incentivizing Web2 or traditional companies to want to make their membranes more permeable?
Yeah, I thought of one example as you were asking the question. I mean, let's talk about banks. You know, how much do you think banks spend on people who just manage the bureaucracy of who? And if you've ever been to a bank, at least in Serbia, like even if I just need to change my address, I have to sign like this many papers. So I'm sure you could sell it ultimately by showing them the costs would be lower if they would manage their data on blockchain, you know, with smart contracts, and if they don't need to hire like 500 people just to manage the bureaucracy. Obviously, we need to get there, right? So like we aren't there yet, but I think that's kind of the answer to your question. You know, show them how it's gonna be more productive and cheaper for them ultimately.
You've shown the multiple ways and approaches you used here, but like I'm curious, which of these has brought you the most user, the most profit actually?
I mean, it's a great question. The World Cup was massive, but I think that's just to the nature of the World Cup. Like the volume we have hit, the number of users during the World Cup, yeah, it was out of this world. But I do think the best use case for on-ramp is the voucher. Because you actually, I mean, we all got friends who are asking us, can you show me, you know, blockchain? Can you show me how to use it? I want to tap into that, but like, where do I start? Well, you know, here's a voucher. And if you do like it and you end up using the protocol a lot, I actually get referrals all the time from you. So, you know, a little bit of a hidden agenda there.
Yeah. Any more questions? All right. Thank you, Danijel, for the engaging presentation and sacrificing your voice in the name of celebrating ETH Belgrade. Hugely appreciated.
Thanks.
We're headed for a short coffee break, and from that point, we are going to continue and actually have a few very interesting talks about security. So make sure to stick through. Thanks.